Can you see it?
No, not yet.
Yes,
Oh,
perfect.
yes, yes,
Yes.
yes, yes, you can see it now. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Just a little question. In order to move, I can just push the go on button, I think. Or
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you have control now.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. I'm welcoming you to maybe a bit different type of presentation that we usually have in the Vera Photo Club. And I would like to thank the board for inviting me to give this presentation. And then we will start, and I hope if you have any questions, you could please ask, and then I will answer, and I hope we can have some discussions because I think this is very important. So I try to see if I get my next slide now. No, that I did not function. No. So no. I want this to move. Okay. It was upwards and not aside. You can see the next one now.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, good. So first, I would like to give a very short introduction, a little bit about myself, and to talk, introduce you a bit to what is Ikebana, because I assume that most of you maybe don't know it so well. And then I have tried to make a kind of a photographic approach to it. So, you know, I'm just an amateur. So, but by showing you a bit about the different type of lights that I use and how I make my photos. So we go to the introduction part. And I said about myself as a photographer, but I'm not, as I said, a photographer, I'm an amateur. But so I'm an archaeologist from education. And of course, we used a lot of photography for documentation when we did the excavations and the documentation for everything we did. So that time I was, I think, more professional than what I'm now. But I've always taken photos as a hobby, especially when we've been traveling. And in Ikebana, photography documentation is very important because when you use living material like plants and flowers, of course, they, after a few days, they will die. So what I have is the photo. And I have used different kind of cameras like the Canon EOS, PowerShot, G5X, and of course, lately, the last years, I have used a lot of my iPad and sometimes my mobile phone. And for the daily documentation, I must admit, I think I use my iPad most. It's very convenient. I've been studying Ikebana for 27 years as a hobby during the time when I worked. Now, it's still a hobby, but I use much more time now when I'm retired. And I have been participating in a lot of exhibitions and in several countries in Europe, even in Japan and excuse me, in New Zealand. I've been teaching because I'm educated as a teacher, and I'm still taking lessons and being educated. So, but I've given workshops in several countries in Europe and at New Zealand and Australia. I've been publishing in 4 books, which has been printed by the Belgian Stitching Kunstverlag. And I have the grade, which is the next highest. It's called Common, and I received that in March this year.
Congratulations.
Excuse me.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Emilio. Yes, I became very happy for the grade, and my goal is to reach the highest degree, which is called Ricci. This is a bit like judo. You take the belts with different colors, but we don't have belts. But it's the Japanese maybe way of thinking and developing your skills. Ikebana is very old. It came to Japan with the Buddhists around the 6th century from China, and the Japanese developed it. First, they in the 15th century, in the 6th century, they made it as offerings in the temples, so it was very closely connected to the Buddhists. But then slowly they developed it, and in the 15th century and onwards, they made arrangements as a decoration in their homes, and they developed schools. And the first school was developed by a Buddhist monk in the 15th century, and it's called Ikenobo. And there are around 3,000 schools for Ikebana in Japan. But the most popular are 3. It's called Ikenobo, Ohara, and Sogetsu. And I belong to the last one called Sogetsu. It was established in 1927 by artists or Ikebanist. And this school is the most modern one. And he said Ikebana has unlimited possibilities, like painted artworks. So I hope I can show you a little bit about this now. But first, I want to make a comment. I think, well, in the Vera Photo Club, we have had a theme like photographing food. And I was thinking about it, that maybe the photographing flowers or plant materials is a little bit like photographing food, for instance. I'm not sure, but we haven't discussed this so much, but it's mostly performed in studios when you take the photos, but it can also, as I will show you, be taken outside. But I would like to use this opportunity to discuss with you, and please tell me if you during this presentation can see that what you think, how I can improve my pictures and my photography. I would appreciate that a lot. So a bit, what is Ikebana? And I will, because this takes years to learn, but I will just give you some examples. And it's, of course, a classical style, and it's in a low container, and it's all about the different angles of the branches and the flower, and how they are related to each other, as you can see in this presentation. And I'm not going into detail, but this is called Moribana in a low container, and the other one is called Nagare in a high container. And then there are many different angles and ways how to make this classical style. Another very important part of Ikebana is the seasons, because we use material related to the seasons. And of course, that all depends on which part of the world you are living in also. But here in Scandinavia, as you know, we have 4 quite different seasons, like winter, when it's snow and ice. So you can see on the upper photo. And then the spring comes, like it's now, with the spring flowers. And then in June, July, we have summer, like this with more pink flowers. and then the autumn comes with autumn leaves. And this last picture shows an arrangement that is like a relief that you can hang on the wall. So we do not always use containers to make our arrangements in. Then from the classical styles, we develop further to make free styles, and we can use natural materials and or artificial materials, which I will show you soon. But the important things here is lines, mass, and colors. So it should all harmonize with each other in a way. But then sometimes we don't use branches or flowers, but we can use fruit and vegetables. And this we call morimono. And here you can see an example of that. And I like that quite a lot. I think it's quite fun to play with the fruit and the vegetables. Is it okay? Is it going too fast for the?
No, no, it's fine.
No, okay. As you can see here, you have like a cauliflower, and you have the chili fruits, a lemon, and some leaves, and it's all kind of dancing around, it's like playing with it, and then you get an impression from what you want to show. Then we can use miniature containers. These containers are maybe about 2 centimeters high, and we use them to focus on the plant details, and we go and pick maybe a very small part of a flower or a branch or something, and then make it into the harmony. And we are always thinking, as I said, of the lines and the colors to harmonize other. And this is another one, another miniature. And here as containers, I think at least the ladies listening can think about that you can make small miniature containers by taking the top of your lipstick and turn it upside down and fill it with water, and then put a shell and then a small piece of a flower on top of it. And it's a lot of things that you can do, or a cork from a bottle, or a perfume bottle, a nice cork, or whatever. It's just to look around and to use your fantasy. I mentioned that we have the freestyle arrangement made by untraditional materials. And here it's a basket, the black one, for fruit that I turned upside down. And then there are this the tool for children that you can throw down as some stairs. And I don't now remember what it's called, but I'm sure you know about this. But it has beautiful colors, and it's very interesting to use and to in an arrangement. And for this one, I also took a photo from above, and it gives a totally another effect. I've always thought that it's been interesting to make Ikebana arrangements inspired from paintings, from art, and that's also part of the Ikebana. And my father was a painter, and some years ago, I made a solo exhibition. I will come back to that at the end of, towards the end of my presentation. And this arrangement is inspired from his watercolor painting. And this photo is not taken by me, but by a professional photographer. So you can see the difference in quality. Then we can be inspired not only by artworks in Ikebana, but we can be inspired by poetry. Some of you might know about the Japanese poetry called haiku. And this arrangement I made, and this has been published in one of the books that I mentioned, that was about Ikebana inspired by haiku. And one evening we had some nice mussels for dinner, and then I cooked them and cleaned them, and I took water bottle, plastic water bottle, and cut it up, and I made some waves, because this haiku was about the shore and the ocean and a small boat. And then I made this arrangement. But it's not only about making arrangements inside. We also do make arrangements outdoor, and outdoor arrangements, or land art as it often been called, can be with flowers or with just natural materials that you can find in the forest, or it can be rather big or not so big. These arrangements we made in a workshop in Italy, in Montecatini, which some of you might have been visiting. It's very interesting to make arrangements either in a natural environment or in a place like this where you have architectural details. So now you have got an introduction to what Ikebana can be and the different type of styles that we use making Ikebana. And I will now show you some of the arrangements where I've used natural lights, just to show you, before we go there, how I work, how I prepare when I'm making an arrangement outdoor. Normally I work inside, but sometimes if the weather is nice, I can stay outside. And you see the container and the material. And this arrangement turned out to be, it should stand by itself in this low container, not using Kensan, which I haven't mentioned earlier, but that's kind of a tool that we use, which has a lot of needles in it. So we can put the stems of the flowers into these needles, and they will stay there. So this is from south of Stockholm, in an area by the fjord. And here I chose to take a photo outside with just natural sunshine. And then afterwards, I took the same arrangement inside and used some lamps. And of course, you can see the difference. Then one day I made a small arrangement, and I had it on the table, and I saw the sun coming through the window, and it gave a very beautiful, I thought, light shining through actually the flower itself. So sometimes, you know, just the natural light source can be very good to use. And then just to show the same arrangement in another setting with small kimono that I thought was harmonizing with the container. Another arrangement also taken with natural light coming from a window. So you see the light actually more just on one side than on the other. Then, of course, mostly I use artificial light. And that can be by using one or two lamps, all depending, and of course it will give a shadow on the wall behind, but that shadow can often be quite interesting, I think, in the arrangement. As you can see here as well in this autumn arrangement. But here it's just light coming from a lamp above and not from the sides, so we won't have the shadows behind the arrangement. Then I have used a light box, I think it's that what it's called, like a tent. And then of course, it can be better or more professional maybe in a way, but it's often quite a lot of work to put up the tent, and not to talk about how to take it down and again. So, I think it can give quite a nice background to an arrangement with, of course, the black, and I like the black background, at least for some of the arrangements that I make. This is more like a winter arrangement. And here you have more summer, spring, summer. But then also I found, instead of using the light box, I use some curtains behind the arrangement. And I have I have two different, I have a black one and I have a white curtain. And so I have my working table, and then I have the curtain on the wall behind, and it's convenient to just take down it's a rolling curtain. I don't know what it's called, but you understand, it's you can take it up and down. And so this is one example of that. This is the next one. And then of course we can add some kind of background, like this small Japanese screen to the arrangement. And here the fruit and vegetables coming again. And this is more or less approaching what I mentioned in the beginning, the food photography that we had as a topic some time ago. And here, of course, I have lamps at the side of the arrangement. As I told you, I like to be inspired from artworks, and this is a painting made by Gustav Klimt, and we had that on the topic for a workshop that I gave some time ago, and being inspired from the blue color in the hat and lady's face and hair, I made the arrangement that you can see. Another one also from a painting made by Klimt, and I was inspired by the red house by this lake here, and using some container and some Japanese, I don't know what it's called, but some Japanese lacquerware, and making this arrangement. Then the white curtain and another fruit and vegetable arrangement. And this is also an arrangement with a white curtain behind. And a beautiful ceramic container made by my best friend, who is a ceramist. So the containers I haven't talked about, but they are a very important part of the, often a very important part of the arrangement as well. Then I'm coming to the last topic, which I wanted to show you a few examples from some of the exhibitions that I have participated in, and an example from Norway and one from Spain and Japan. This exhibition was made in my hometown in Norway by the Oslo Fjord, and all the arrangements are inspired by watercolor paintings made by my father. And of course, it's a challenge to make photos in an exhibition where you have the light sources often very strong, and you have a glass on the paintings, and you have the challenge of the light and the reflections in the glass, and this is not so easy to solve. But I show you one example here with one of the arrangements, and the one to my left side. This I took in the exhibition, as you can see in the exhibition itself. But then for documenting this exhibition, I engaged a professional Norwegian photographer called Espen Grønlid, and we did take down the paintings and the arrangement, and we made a bit like a studio photography, which you can see here on the other side. And of course, you can see the difference. I think that it's interesting because, of course, I will like to make my photos more like a studio photography, or more professional. But also in the same time, I think that if I take a photo in an exhibition, it gives maybe more life, or it's more vivid in a way. So we can discuss that if you like afterwards. In 2017, I had an exhibition in Carboneras. This is the fortress in Carboneras, which most of you, I'm sure, have visited. And maybe some of you also visit the exhibition at the time. I was lucky to have the possibility to make my arrangements inspired from the artworks by Paloma Barinara. And we worked and prepared for this exhibition for about 1 year. And you can see here part of the results. This is one example here where I used the aluminium ventilation tube, some melted plastic blue, some water bottle, and of course the container, the turquoise container, and some paper, orange colored paper. And of course, on the top, the strelitzia, which is so common in Spain. And this is a way that you can build up an Ikebana and then being inspired from the beautiful colors in Paloma's artwork. Another example here, which is part of her artwork, but then my arrangement, I called it flamenco because I got this impression from her painting with the red that it was like a flamenco dancer. And I made this arrangement with this kind of a bamboo mat that you can twist, and then the red flower in a quite tall glass vase, and I had some metal around it. So then we go to Japan, and just to show you that Ikebana can be very big. This is a photo taken from the Takashimaya department store in Tokyo. It's a bit like Harrods, if you like. And every year they arrange an Ikebana exhibition in this department store. They have a special premises for making exhibitions there. And this huge arrangement is like taking a lot of trees inside in the entrance hall. And it's made by the Iemoto, which is called the leader of the Sogetsu school, Akane Teshigehara. And the metal construction, it's a sculpture made by her grandfather, Sofu Teshigehara, who was the founder of the Sogetsu school. So it's just to give you an idea that in Japan, they very often make big arrangements, and they make arrangements in hotel lobbies or in working receptions in working places or in department stores like this. I have participated in this exhibition 3 times. It's very interesting, but it's quite challenging because you see here how crowded it is. Of course, Japan is a very crowded country. It's 127 million people living there. So I'm coming from Norway, and the size of Norway and Japan is the same, but in Norway we are 5 million people. So, well, but it normally works very well. So here you can see I am working on setting up my arrangement. And the result came out like this. I was inspired. I like a lot the material from the sea, and like driftwood, seaweed, shells, and I often walk along the beach in Mahakar and searching for interesting material. And this metal net, I thought it was a bit like the wave of Hiroshige's famous woodblock print, where you have the big, maybe kind of tsunami wave coming. I think some of you might know this painting. So then we comes to the final, and this is also a detail of my first arrangement, which I presented in the exhibition in Tokyo. It has an aluminium ventilation tube under this white mop, and there are these gloves which holding the flower. And I would like to thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Elin. That was very beautiful.
Thank you very much. Really was
Very nice.
very nice.
Thank you.
It's beautiful beautiful works, and it's a beautiful means, beautiful medium. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very,
Yeah.
very nice, Elin. Thank you.
Thank you, Ansha. But I would like to, if you have some comments or some suggestions for how can I improve?
Well, before that, could I just ask, I found that so inspiring and so beautiful. Thank you. I was really interested in the one that you did with the poem, the haiku. And
Yes.
I wondered what the haiku, which poem it was, if you remember.
Yeah.
Ukrainian.
I was thinking I should write it down, but I don't remember it by heart, you see.
Don't worry, that was fine. I just wondered if you knew what it was. I think it was a lovely idea.
Yeah, it's about the boat and the shore and yes, something. I'm just looking if I could email it to you later if you like.
That would be great. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. If I can have your email address. I don't know how, do we have the email addresses? We don't, maybe. But
Emilio has them all.
yeah, okay, I'll ask Emilio.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Can you stop the share screen, Elin?
Stop sharing, yes. Then yes, that function.
Okay. Yeah, no, that was lovely. Like I say, I mean, I really like most things Zen, yeah, and that to me is very Zen. Yeah.
That was fabulous, Ellie. I saw your show in Carboneras, but
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much more there was to that. It's really a huge, huge study.
It is. I mean, I've been doing it for 27 years, but I mean, you can do your whole life. But of course, I mean, there are so many possibilities. I mean, you can, of course, focus on one kind of topic, but but when you are learning, of course, you have to make all the different type of arrangements, because we have books, of course, that we follow. And I have now my teacher in Japan, and she gives me still, I mean, I get lessons to do every month. So
No,
but
just great.
also my own works. I just in April participated in an actually it was an exhibition by a French photographer in an art gallery here in Stockholm, and we have an Ikebana association, and members of this association participated in this exhibition of photography, and it was very interesting to do this. And we had the chance also to make an exhibition there last year. So that's of course very challenging, but also good to have the possibility to show your works to other people, not just sitting in your own studio and just making arrangements for yourself in a way. And that's why I think that the photography part of Ikebana is very important, because that is what you have left. That is what you can show to other people, or making, for instance, in presenting it in books, or yeah. So that's why I'm eager to try to make better and to improve my photography.
Thank you.
I was kind of curious about that one, the two examples you showed us, where you had the shadow and then you had the professional photographer's version with no shadow. And I must admit, part of me preferred your version. I find it had more depth, and it just seems more alive somehow. But I guess that's an interesting question, isn't it, in terms of what you want to showcase?
Exactly. No, it's interesting that you take up this topic, Janet, because I tend to agree with you, but of course it's I have often, if you take like photos in an exhibition, you have, as I said, the light sources, the lamps, and that they make a lot of reflections, maybe in the glass, or they could be, but I'm sure that there are ways that you can solve these things. Maybe you could turn off the light, for instance. So, but it's not maybe always so easy if it's not your own exhibition. This was my solo exhibition, so I could, of course, have done that. But it is an interesting topic, because I often see that maybe the professional photographers, they tend maybe to make it more soft, or maybe, Marlene, maybe that's what is called low key. I don't know. But
Well, to me, it did seem very clean, but a little bit less three-dimensional. I felt it lacked a kind of three-dimensional, vivid quality, which was there in your photography.
yeah, yes, exactly.
photograph version. So I guess it's how to combine the two. So you keep the vivid quality of the initial piece, and yet don't have the interference. I think it's a really interesting question.
And also, of course, maybe it has to do with the light sources that you use. I mean, if you are in a studio, I think that in a studio you have, of course, much more possibilities to get this depth, and maybe not the shadow if you don't want the shadows, but still, I don't know, but I guess. Thank you.
Isn't it also very interesting, because you make a three-dimensional artwork, and when you make your photo, you make a two-dimensional image of it. So you got lots of possibilities of turning your container a little bit to make a completely different image. Do you?
Yes, you are right, Frank. I think that's a very interesting comment. And so what you'd say is that maybe I should try to move the container to see the arrangement from different angles.
I think that, I suppose that it's interesting from every angle, and I think that for me as a photographer, I would probably be taking 10 photos with a little bit of a twist, and but you know, I just mean you've got so many possibilities, and I think that I really like the quality of your photos already, but I can understand that you want to be more in control of the light to get out what you want. But I can't help you there, I'm afraid.
No, but it's true. I mean, I didn't mention that, but we make sometimes we make arrangements that is supposed to be seen with that background, and to be seen from a bit straight ahead. But sometimes we make arrangements that is supposed to be seen from all sides around, and of course, even if it's supposed to be seen ahead, you can always turn, I think, your container or your arrangement and try to see. You're very right, I think. Thank you, Frank.
Have you ever tried making different sorts of photographs, not as realistic? For example, abstracts, using your Ikebana as an inspiration, so that maybe you could do, I don't know, a camera movement, or just different ways of creating. Maybe I could see some lovely abstracts in your arrangements. So the realistic ones are marvelous, and that shows one thing, but different types of photograph from different, I don't know, where you might zoom in on one particular element, or all sorts of different photographic techniques, just to make them into photographs rather than Ikebana records, which are absolutely beautiful. Thank you. Wonderful.
Okay, Jane, I think that's a fantastic comment, and because I'm now, I think, on the level of that I've been started to think that I would like to see if I can use my photography of the Ikebana in another way. This is what you're saying, and I think that's really a very, very interesting comment. And because of course when I take normal or other photos of, participating in the Vera Photo Club challenges, for instance, then I try to do maybe sometimes some more creative photos. But I will see that, and I will try to develop and to see, and maybe I don't know thing about all the techniques that is possible, but of course that I can learn from you in the Vera Photo Club. I think that what kind of possibilities there are, like you say, camera movements, or yeah, and when you say the abstracts, what do you mean to take details of an arrangement, maybe, or to?
I don't know, but the strelitzia, you know, I grow those all over the place, and they're wonderful. They look like birds, don't they? Bird of paradise. But you can, in fact, well, Rod would know more, but you could take them in different ways. You get one part of the picture in focus and another part not, and I don't know. Rod's the one to ask about all this, but it's just only an idea.
Absolutely.
Well, you could do details. You could just go into a part of the arrangement, yeah, and see what you can find in there. Yeah.
Yes, sure. That absolutely. I think that, and also by taking new from, in the future now to do that when I make a photo, but also maybe I could use some of my old, because I have, I don't know, thousands of photos. I could go into some of my old photos and pick out details, maybe also.
Yeah.
Shape and colour. I mean, you've got such a wonderful interpretation of, and you've learnt such a lot about the shape and the form and the colours and how they blend together. And using all those details, maybe you could do something with that in the photograph. Just an idea. I have no idea, but just a thought.
Well, I mean, the arrangements are pretty abstract just in themselves, aren't they?
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
they have a very their own beauty.
Fabulous, yeah.
Yeah, just as an arrangement, but that within that arrangement, you've already got an abstract. Yeah. So
yeah, exactly. And I haven't mentioned that, but in Ikebana, we have a saying, less is more. And, you know, at least I like to make arrangements that are maybe in themselves more abstract, as you say, Rod, and not, because there are a lot of Ikebana colleagues that makes like a whole bunch of flowers in a vase, but that's not my style. So I think that my photos already, as you say, are a bit more abstract, and that I can take that further. And
definitely. Just explore it
Exactly.
from different angles with the camera. Yeah.
Yeah.
Think of it just as a set for the camera. Yeah. So once it's complete in itself, then you can start exploring it as a photograph. Yeah. Just by moving and looking and seeing how it comes out at you, see it come, what inspires you within that.
And I don't use Photoshop or Lightroom, but I'm very now I like to maybe to install that, and then because I'm going to buy a new computer and to have maybe the Lightroom, and then I guess I will have some more possibilities also to to play more around with it than
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's Lightroom in itself is not so creative as Photoshop, but it still has plenty of opportunity to work on a photograph. I mean, just to turn it black and white and see what you see there, or to bring out just one color. There's plenty of experiments and adventure you can do with that.
Remembering,
Oh, sorry.
sorry, Erin, remembering some of your photographs, I think what they're saying is absolutely perfect, because some of your, what I would describe as boat-shaped vases that you used, or containers, to look at them from a different angle, even looking down on them, looking from the front of them, slight movements and that will give you a lot of possibilities for your photography, not perhaps to enhance your fantastic Ikebana, but certainly to advance the photography of it.
Okay, thank you very much, Harry. Yeah, thank you. It's good advice.
Yeah, no, I think, for instance, there was one where you showed the photograph of the object straight on, and then you showed another one from the top. Yeah,
Exactly.
and it's that sort of thing you can do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sorry, I was just curious about your, you said you wanted to get to the next level in terms of your Ikebana. And I just, with Ikebana, I think it's all about purity, isn't it? And simplicity and essence, and bringing that out of your artwork. And I was just curious as to what they were looking for. If you're to become a master of the art form, what's the next step for you with your Ikebana? Because that journey might be really interesting to combine with your photography. And I just wondered if you'd done a sort of study in your historic journey through your Ikebana. So you say you've got lots of photographs from when you first started to now, and whether you track that photographically. I think it'd be really interesting to see your progression and where you want to go with it. And I'm really curious and fascinated as to what they would expect next. In terms of, because the level seems already really stunning. So to become a master, is it a question of having a whole body of work, or is it a question of just being more refined in your skill? I mean, what do they look for?
Yeah, exactly. But I sometimes I wonder that myself. I think that it's not a very big difference between the level where I am now and the very top ones, because but I think that to do maybe more like exhibiting, or to make exhibitions, or having workshops, or to kind of what shall I say, tell other people about what is Ikebana, and but of course also the skills, or the creativity, but as I can see, I mean, it's it all depends on which part of the world, and people are making different kinds of arrangements as well. I mean, in Japan, it's a bit different from what it is in Europe, maybe, and also, so it's I think it's more or less the same where I am now. It's the degree I have is the next highest, and it's not a big difference. But it's interesting what you say, because what I showed you today, some of the arrangement or the photos I showed you today are quite old, and because when I made this presentation, I went through a lot of my photos, and I picked out the ones that I thought could be interesting for you to look at, and I was interested in the details and to see what it was, and some of them I think are still good, but I mean they've made several years ago, so the progress is, it's interesting to see, as you say. What of course a lot of the old ones are not so good, I think, but some of them are. So it turns out to be different from maybe from one time to the next. So thank you. Yeah, Marlene, what did you said you wrote something, Marlene? I couldn't the whole.
Yes, sorry. Marlene has problems with the video and the audio, and she told me to send you her email address because she is very interested to contact with you.
Okay, yes, please do. Thank
I
you.
will send it. And also you can see the chat resume. That is the last question is Marlene. Maybe there is a possibility to combine Ikebana with the color theory of Johannes Litten.
Yes. We had a workshop actually quite some years ago with an Ikebana lady from Belgium, and she talked about Itten's color theory. So that was very interesting, because we work a lot, of course, with the colors. So that's a very good thought, Marlene. It's very interesting. But please give her my email address, Emilio. It will be very interesting to be in contact with Marlene. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Maybe when the time comes that we can have physical meetings, it's just an idea, but maybe you could make an arrangement and have everybody who wants make photos of it, so you can see all the different ways of how people look at the work. It's just an idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Good idea. I will come to Mojácar in June, so we will stay on almost the whole of June. We will stay in Mojácar, so that might be a possibility, or later. I mean, of course, also in the autumn maybe. But that's a very interesting thing to do, Frank, and a good idea. Absolutely.
We can use our next exhibition in November to do it as a workshop in the gallery.
Yeah, good idea.
Absolutely. Very good idea.
Yeah. Set up the lighting and give different possibilities, different options on the lighting. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's past 12, so I don't know if there are any more comments, or I don't want to use much more of your time on a lovely Sunday in Mojácar or elsewhere where you are. But I'm very happy with the discussion that we had afterwards. I think it was a lot of interesting comments, and I'm very pleased to get a lot of new and good ideas. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elin. Thank you,
you.
Elin, for a very entertaining presentation with some very beautiful images. Yeah.
Brilliant one.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.